Let me put you in the picture. Let me show you what I mean. The Messiah and my sister. Wait, is my sister. She's no kingdom. She's no king. I don't know how the words go to that song. But now it's stuck in my head because I guess I grew up with Stone Roses playing on the radio a lot. How's everybody doing? I feel like somehow my settings on me microphone. Why do they call it a microphone? I mean, a megaphone is like, is it because it has a big cone? But a microphone, it's smaller than a megaphone. But like megaphones are electric, anyways. Now, what was the original microphone? I don't know. Why are they called that? How are you guys? How are your fish? I'm here today to answer your questions about fish robotically. So just pay me money, like $1 a question. And if you want me to do things, just say like, raise your right arm, here's $1. And I'll go, yeah, NPC, fish. Let me tell you, Epsom salt, Epsom salt, Epsom salt, garlic. Check your check your check your parameters. Check your parameter. Garlic. How's it going, everybody? These's Aqua escapes. She doesn't just make aquascapes, she makes escapes from reality in under the sea. So, guys, I got to do an incredible thing today. Sleep in. No, that wasn't. I didn't, and no, that's not what was incredible. But yes, a wild live stream has appeared in its natural habitat. Hello. Welcome. Come on in. Wicked freaking aquatics. Like that. Phoenix Star. Hello. Corey Dora. What a Corey Dora the Explorer. Corey Dora is always pluralized technically. You might have some crazy ichthyologist go psycho on you for your screen name. Johnny, Angry Johnny. There's a song I haven't heard in a while. Johnny, Angry Johnny, isn't it? How's that song go? I'm in hell. I'm insane. Something. Poe. That band. Anyways, most of you probably have no idea what I'm bantering on about. But hello. What is going on? And Johnny, thanks, buddy. I mean, you're giving out memberships like they're going out of style. You're keeping them in style. You keeping me in style, I appreciate it. Thank you. New members, welcome. Come on in and go to the community tab, go to the community posts, and then you'll see like lots of extra episodes and me ranting about stuff and showing like discounts and little tricks and things that aren't anywhere else on the web. Welcome. Have some fun. We'll all have some fun today. I promise me that. I promise me I'll have some fun. You're late. You're in the Philippines. Mad Music Entertainment. What's up? Big ups. Hello, as we say here in Sweden. Hello there. Sweden, weren't you in Belgium at some point? Am I crazy? Were you not in Belgium at any point? By the way, I'll just demonetize myself right now today. I don't know why. I got into some crazy thing where I was looking at the price of kittens. No, illegal narcotics. And I was looking at the price of them by the UN. The UN does like an assessment of the price of things in different countries, right? They have everything from the price of wheat to a gallon of milk or a liter, however you want to do it, or a gallon or a liter of gas. And, I think that what's wild is as economists look at things, they always look at the legal market, which is so regulated. There are so many weird regulations, tariffs. I mean, everyone, there's all these trade wars, and some people have tariffs, some people have subsidies, some people have this or that. But you know what is kind of interestingly free, even though it's totally illegal, is the black market things. So what's fascinating is to look up like stats on how much like smokes or diesel that is not dyed, so it can be used. Like, so our country, for instance, we put dye in diesel gas so that that one type is untaxed agricultural and can be used for like without taxes, and the other kind costs like a couple bucks more a gallon, or whatever, a buck more a liter, and then you're paying taxes on it. But in theory, you can do that, and other places don't have that setup. Others have different setups. But long story short, they have like what the above board and the illegal market, what like a gallon of crude oil goes for. Like the UN keeps track of this stuff. I don't know where you go. I mean, I've led a crazy life, let me tell you, but I don't know where you'd go and be like, oh, I'm really fiending. I need a gallon, 55-gallon drum of crude oil from the black market at that. But what's interesting is looking at how prices have changed there. So they had like rare iguanas that you would smoke. And let's see. I can't think of another name for it. So heroin, the price of that. And it's interesting to look at it over like 50 years or whatever, and especially over like 10 years too. But you look at the EU, you look at America, and you look at all these other things, and you look at their prices and graphs, and then you look at the black market stuff. And it really tells a much better story of like how the middle class is actually doing, rather than like how banks and like the mortgage market and stocks and bonds are doing. Because in America, only a third of people have any stocks outside of a 401k, which is, I mean, that might sound crazy because a lot of people have stocks, bonds, savings accounts. But right now, 50% of Americans don't have more than $400 for an emergency, like that they could spend in the bank. That's insane, because the other 50% probably has $40,000 or more that they could spend on an emergency. So anyways, I went down this rabbit hole, and if I found it interesting, and I like covering economic stuff, and I love looking at like the untold story that goes on. And yeah, you have to trust like the UN and the DEA and all that stuff on the numbers, but it seemed legit to what I know and have seen. And I found it just interesting. And like they have also things like ivory and illegal like exotic animals, how much a tiger costs. There's reports that come out every so often on like where we are with that stuff. And like it's just interesting because like, go figure, tigers used to be cheap. Now they're super endangered, like critically, and they're not super cheap. They're really expensive if you want a tiger. But if you want a tiger cub born in America, that's actually the cheapest, because it's like there's more tigers in Texas than there are in the wild at this point. So kind of crazy. Anyways, let me get to Angie, please don't get me started. Please don't get me started. But yeah. What I was gonna say is this is what I'll say is I tell people, and no one believes me, everyone thinks I'm a crazy liberal, but I don't have a right or left leaning politics when it comes to like across the board. I have individual thoughts about each thing, and they've changed over the course of my life. And I happen to think that, yes, we should have a lot more manufacturing in America. I'm all for not putting crazy tariffs on Chinese goods and like cheap, crappy stuff that breaks easily, that is stuff that could be jobs in America, I'm all for Americans doing that. But I'm all for building the factories with subsidies first and like subsidizing construction work and or incentivizing that here, then giving jobs to people here, then putting those tariffs in place, because it's going to just go to another cheap country. Just like when Mexico used to produce all of our cheapest crap, and then it went to Bangladesh and India, and then it went to China. Then it went to Taiwan. Before all that, it was Japan. It just will change. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the tariff thing, just because somebody mentioned that a little bit. But anyways, back to fish. You know, do you guys like this sound setting, or do you like this one more? I think that one's worse. Yeah, that's echoey. No, I don't like that one. Let's go back. Yeah, Nancy, Alex trying to be logical with modern politics. Yeah, I mean, here's another sound setting. I think the first one's still the winner. Hold on. Let's see. Is that one okay? This one seems like it's going from left to right. Yeah, this is like stereo or something weird. Okay, hold on. I think this probably is the best one. Yeah, exactly. GRB says Mexico no longer manufactures Fender's cheap guitars, their cheapest guitars. Yeah, now Indonesia does. Yeah, see, it just moves around. And the thing that is a bummer, I'm a capitalist. Here I am pandering for your money on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. But the thing that's a bummer about capitalism and, the whole system is that it has to keep expanding. Like it's a monster that's eating, and it always has to have someone on the bottom who will work for less or who can build the product for less. And then somebody who's willing to pay more on the other end. So like, there's always going to be a discrepancy just by the nature of it. And the fact that if you agree with me, that makes you a Marxist, just so you know. People always call people Marxists and they have no idea what it means. It means like nothing really fundamentally. Now being a communist or a Marxist communist or whatever, that is something. But being a Marxist just means you believe it in what he said in his political theories early on. I am so off fish right now. Do you find it's getting hard to find certain fish right now? For example, cichlids are not readily available where I live. Everyone was trying to get rid of them last year. Angie, I think it goes in phases, and it is supply and demand. I mean, it is economics like we're talking about. It is a matter of a lot of cichlids have a lot of babies, and they're actually really easy to raise. The initial investment in buying the cichlid can be very, very expensive if it's something that's not in your area. So you spend, say, $150 on a rare pair of beautiful cichlids. You raise them. They need a decent amount of space as well. And they also need sometimes a decent amount of time to grow out and everything. So now you're like a year or two into the investment, but now you've flooded the market in your city. And even if it's a city of 1 million people, maybe 40 or 50 or 100 people want those fish at best, probably. And so all of a sudden it's like you're out of luck. So yeah, local legislators ruined my day already. Sorry to hear that, Asya. And I'm with you. Groucho Marx. Yeah, I'm a Groucho Marxist. I agree with that right there for sure. How dangerous is it to keep Caridina shrimp with a KH of 3 to 4? I've found that some just randomly showed up in my community tank plants or something and want some now. KH of 3 to 4. That's okay. Is this my phone going nuts? What is going on? I'm going to mute it, but I thought oh, okay. It's something relevant to you guys actually, which that's fun. That's good. That's all good and plenty, like the candy bar. So this morning at 5:30, I woke up and I hear my phone going bing 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 bing, and I'm like, oh man, what is it? And it's like, hey, it's Ivan Mikolji of Orinoco photography fame, the guy who has photographed all the incredible cichlids and things like that all over the Orinoco. He's got, 25, 30 years of taking pictures since digital photography started, basically. He's been the guy in the Orinoco nonstop. He lives there. He goes and travels all over Venezuela, his home country. And you guys probably know him if you watch the channel, and you might just know him if you're an aquarist because he gets around. He's the kind of guy who gets around. But he called me and he has a new book coming out, and he is working on a book about aquatic plants in the Orinoco. And it also includes like plants that are even tree size, but they have to have their roots submerged in water, which apparently is a common thing in the rainforest. And, he's also going to do another book someday with other plants like orchids and things that are, I think, like living on and out of the water, but like on a branch, like epiphytic, or they're on dry land, or he's going to do other things, or maybe mammals or reptiles, and he's going to do other stuff. But he's got all this lifetime of nature photography, and most of it revolves around fish. And his first book is incredible, The Fish of the Orinoco. But now he's doing one on the aquatic plants. And I got to see the entire thing this morning, spent 2 hours going through the book with him. And it's going to be printed in the next 3 or 4 months, I'm guessing. I mean, that's what his guess was. His guess was 3 months. So let's say the next 6 months, just because I know how hard it is when you print stuff, and he's got to print it for the global market, mostly English and or maybe Spanish speakers. He's got to print that, and he lives in Venezuela. So he's got to print that and then get it to the US, get it to the UK, Canada, all that. Europe, Asia, Singapore, Australia. And so it's rough for him to get it printed, proofed, and then you have to look through it, make sure there's no errors. And he happens to have so many plants in there. It's 400 and some pages right now. And it happens to have so many plants in it that have gotten new Latin names and that have no Latin names. So it's kind of a crazy book, but man, is the photography breathtaking. I'm really excited when we get to share that with y'all, and we're gonna have them on the channel, of course, to do pre-orders and stuff like that when that comes up, when that's time. But yeah, I got to see it today and I was like blown away. I was he's gonna have another designer take a crack at it too. If anybody here is a designer, he's working on a really tight budget, especially since his like life savings is in Venezuela. He grew up and lived in Venezuela. And so if you followed the news, the last 10 to 12 years, Venezuela has just bam gone down, and like they're literally using money from all over the world, and bitcoins and gold and flour, literally, like wheat. It's bad. So he, I don't know what his long-term plan will be, but Ivan, incredible guy. Check out his channel if you never have before. Mick in the chat just posted a link. Very, very cool dude. And he's just made some of the best underwater, him and Oliver Lucanis, which Oliver lives in Canada, and he has also been with Ivan, and they've gone on several trips together to do documentaries on the Orinoco. And I think there's maybe 1 or 2 BBC / old Attenborough films that are on that kind of stuff, where they show the Orinoco. But other than the mouth of the river, there's no documentary of inland more than about 200 kilometers, other than coming at the Columbia side and seeing the far insulary part of it and like Angel Falls. But other than that, like just the everyday, like the Ainselbergs, which is like the or how do you say it? Ainselbergs mountains that are like rock. It's bedrock made out of igneous rock or granite, and it's or basalts too, and it's literally like it's like Solis says the cause of socialism. Yeah, I mean, you could say that. They mismanaged things. They nationalized oil. I mean, gas was like 10 cents a gallon or free if you paid taxes. But you could also say that, being kicked out of the entire global economy and not being able to export to anywhere but North Korea and like a couple other places, that probably hurt their economy a little bit. And freezing all their monetary funds, that probably hurt them a little bit. But, they did that. I'm not saying they didn't do that to themselves too and knew the consequence. But for some reason, Venezuela really got slammed by the world. And yeah, annoying little dictator for a while there, basically. But he wasn't like Iran or North Korea. He wasn't like threatening to do some craziness, really. He was in his own thing. But yeah, anyways, I'm not getting into that right now. But I would just like to point out that there are plenty of socialist things that America does. And, like our roads. Yes, they're socialist. We have socialist freeways. Oh my God. Anyways, let's see here. We got a super chat that I'm missing. Hey, Alex, a couple of my blue bass have ick or fungus on the tips of their dorsal fins. Okay. Lots of plants and more nice snails, so heat and salt are out. Will ick meds kill BB or BB being blue baddest or turn my plants blue? They shouldn't turn your plants like blue, really. Most plants, some plants like Sawassertang and also sometimes some of your like Aponegitans and more translucently green plants that have like light, you can see through the leaves very easily with broader leaves. Some of those will turn blue for a little bit, but literally the regeneration of cells in the plant tends to slough off that dye rather quickly, even if it did stain, which it usually won't. But like your anything like vinyl airlines or PC or PVC or the what's the other stuff called? There's another acronym. Anyways, the other like plastics and polymers, a lot of those will get dyed. So you might want to take rubbers, plastic, polymers, anything that's white out of there, anything that's yellow or light colored could get dyed blue. I would say, if you have plants, you may think that temperature is out of the question. But honestly, you can bring the temperature up to 86. And that should not be a problem. 90 is really where plants start suffering. The thing is, you want to just keep aeration up because the fish need more aeration when that's going on. And you also want to, do your water changes the way the bottle of ick meds recommend. But if you want to just speed up ick, the temperature alone will speed up the life cycle. And a lot of times fish will just be okay after the ick kind of wears off its like first round. But then a lot of people want to make sure that it doesn't come back ever. It's not dormant in the tank. And that's when you either use the meds or you take all the fish out, you hit them with the salt, and then you put them back in the tank. Long story short, though, is that's why we get a hospital tank. So, it's kind of too late after the fact. Sometimes you kind of need to use a medication like the dyes. And unfortunately, with ick, one of the only things that's effective other than the heat and that's 80. It's actually 84.8 degrees technically, but you want to get to 86 so that it doesn't go below that and the ick lives longer. And ick has evolved to become heat resistant in some of the strains that are out there these days, and some is salt resistant as well. So it's a bit of a bummer, but also make sure that it is ick, because there's also, velvet and other issues that can be out there that you might want to just double check, like, okay, yeah, that looks right. So I would just say those things real quick, Matthias, or yeah, Matthias. So yeah. Let's see here. Phoenix Star. Oh, we got a new member. Well, welcome so much, Phoenix Star. I don't know what giving you a little star does, but I'm gonna do it to your comment because I want to. Gall darn it. Let's see here. Fish and football, cause of socialism. Don't you want to be free as Jesus? Okay, well, let's see. Well, I won't. I'm not gonna. I won't. Fuel our fire of people disagreeing. I know we can't all We can't all squabble. Let's see. 84 is safe for plants. Ick meds will not turn your plants blue. Yes to your silicone. Yep, totally. 84 is technically, like I said, how hot it needs to be. It's just a lot of people say 86 because that gives you that buffer, because most heaters will actually, when they get to temperature, then they turn off. So they have to then get down below temperature, and the far end from your actual heater of your aquarium is most likely going to be a few degrees colder, unless you've got great flow, which not every aquarium does, especially if it's full of plants. Do I have any advice on how to breed Somfong rasbora? I have an entire video on it, but I was trying to breed them also because I had a long fin male, and I tried for 2 years and never got that guy to breed. They don't live that long. Oh, beneficial bacteria. Okay, I hear you. Your beneficial bacteria, Matthias, it should be okay. None of the ick meds will nuke it or anything. It may have a slight impact, but I mean, really, the main thing is to keep the water oxygenated. If you use any of the medications that are blue colored, whether that's methylene blue, or that won't be in your ick meds, but I'm saying in general, if you're using methylene blue, if you're using Victoria or malachite, or what's the other green that's always everywhere? There's another green one too that I'm spacing out on. But anyways, if you're using any of those or any of the blue dyes, a lot of them, yes, will kill parasites or will kill protists and things like that. But they also will bond with things and cause the oxygen to become depleted. So there's that. Yeah. But yeah, the Somfong rasboras, they're very easy to breed. They were brought back. We literally didn't know they existed still in the wild, which since we've discovered they do. They were actually in one of the suburbs of Bangkok in a marsh that was basically outflow of an industrial area and very polluted, but they happened to be there, and in another river in the outskirts of town that was not as polluted. But the Somfong rasbora was thought to be extinct for about 40 years and 45 years. And when they found 3 of them, there was a female and 2 males found amongst an order of lamb chop or SB or some sort of other trigon stigma rasboras. And someone at Aquarium Glaser, one of their importer people they work with, spotted them and was like, holy smokes. And it happened to be that someone in their family was the ichthyologist in the generation earlier that actually was on the team that helped explain the fish. So he knew all about this fish and was like, oh wow, this is what his dad or his uncle or whatever, now I don't remember the exact detail, but he was like, oh wow, this is definitely not a lamb chop. And they were able, with 1 female and 2 males, to make enough that like within 3 years they were in the hobby in America, which is like crazy. I mean, so they're egg scatterers, but they're quite prolific, just like SBs, lamb chops, all those little rasboras are, if you can have infusoria, warm temperature, dim lighting, kind of fake them out with like a flooded jungle vibe and have that live infusoria, live or live paramecium, not planaria, paramecium for them to eat. And then either have like vinegar eels or baby brine shrimp or something like that live for them to eat the second week or so of their life once they don't have the yolk on their belly. Yeah, I mean, I've bred them a few times, but they're a great one to breed. And when they're little babies, they're very tiny. They kind of look like exclamation point rasboras when they're little babies. Little babies. Thanks for supporting. Did Johnny just do something? Oh, Johnny, holy smokes. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate your adamant support for the channel lately, bro. I do. I don't know what else to say. Like, I just feel like you're doing inordinate amount of lifting for your weight class, my friend. Like, I shouldn't say that. That sounds like you don't have any money. I don't know. You might be a millionaire, but I'm guessing you're not. I'm guessing you're a super generous guy. But either way, even if you are a millionaire, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, bud. It helps out, especially, like I said, I tried to be transparent last week. If you're curious how much I make and all the details, I put it all out there for you. I stood naked for 45 minutes and let it all hang out. All right, let's see here. So what else am I missing? Being decent to everyone is the religion. I'm right there with you, fish and football. I feel happy with. Yeah, right there with you. If they're not hurting others, they're not neglecting their kids or their elders, they're like the parents that I think we have a duty to care for our parents somewhat too. Maybe it's a little old-fashioned of me, but I think as long as you're not hurting others physically, I mean, we all hurt others emotionally, and I think that's a bummer, but it's hard to draw the line there. But if you're not hurting others in a way we all agree is pretty hurtful, I think that people should be able to do whatever they want. And I really mean, like, I'm a person who really believes that, and I will stand by it. Let's see here. Hello, Alex. I'm on break and I have a little time to hang out. Right on. I'm stoked that you are on break. Beto Grey Lakes. Fish and football says Scotland has terrible problems with religion. Is never spoken about publicly unless it's a football match, it seems. Yeah. No, I know. If you watch, what's his name, who does like that show Mad Lads, the Scottish YouTuber, yeah, he slips in his religious jabs every now and then. It is always in reference to football or Ireland. Let's see here. Yeah, it's okay, man. Adding fish to a heavily planted tank without a quarantine, we all done it. No shade on you. It's just a bummer. I've had ick breakout so many times in tanks that I haven't put anything new in. No new plants, no new fish. It's been 2 years since anything new has been in there. And all of a sudden, it gets too cold or the power goes out. And when it comes back on, everyone got stressed. And now everyone's got ick. So that means the ick was in my tank attacking my fish over and over and over. And some of them were surviving and embedding in my fish and then going dormant into the substrate every 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. And they were doing that without me even noticing it at all. And it wasn't that big of a deal. And that's kind of like humans and like pinworms in the South. It turned out that like almost every human in southern United States and equatorial the equatorial world had pinworms for all of human history. And it turns out that like allergies, now they're finding that pinworms being in your stomach or system keeps your anti-inflammatories and your antihistamines. So everything that's autoimmune related definitely flares up more in people that are not around the equator and known to have been bombarded with things like malaria and sleeping sickness and all these terrible diseases that, don't get me wrong, they've killed millions, if not billions of people throughout history. But parasites do have an interesting role sometimes that has like strengthened other organisms as well. And so the fact that our fish live with a whole bunch of parasites and can be okay, I think it's an interesting tidbit to consider. It doesn't mean you want to throw ick in every tank, obviously, but it is interesting that healthy, happy fish in a kind of natural like tank environment like that I've kept can go years without the ick. And it's not until something crashes or goes really wrong and stresses them out that then their autoimmune system crashes, which says a lot about what it takes for a fish to get ick in the first place. So like if you're getting stuff at the fish store, sometimes they're so discolored you don't even see any of the subtle colors and any of the like ventral like or fins that have like long threads, or you just don't even see them open. You don't see the fish with their fins are somewhat clamped and stuff. You don't see them flaring their fins. And so it's really interesting. Something that Ivan Mikolji told me this today too was that there are a whole bunch of plants. This kind of blew my mind. In the Orinoco and also the Amazon, both are kind of connected. But there are a whole bunch of plants, and like he has spent so many hours in the water photographing fish for 30 years that he's noticed that there's one fern plant that the Blairi, or rather the rummy nose tetra, it rubs itself against it over and over, and then it will also nibble on this plant. And whenever it has flukes or anything on it, it rubs itself on this plant. And this plant clearly does something for the fish because they rub on it to the point where the plant then breaks off. And this plant does not flower and replicate sexually. It needs to be broken off in order to travel downstream with the current and stuff. But the thing is, it gets in very in the Inselberg Mountains, it gets in areas that there's no fish, there's not a lot of mammals and things. Like it's just very desolate, like just it looks like a moonscape of rocks and stuff, and then there's some water flowing over it, and then it all floods. And there's like this ground that was once like just some like sundews and like scrub brush, almost desert, like, I mean, it is desert looking. All of a sudden, for a few months, it blooms and all these trees or not trees, but shrubs and all sorts of things just grow out of nowhere. But the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of plants have evolved to have the fish eat their seeds, spread their seeds, digest their seeds, to have the fish have some symbiotic relationship with breaking off the stems so that they'll float downriver. The fish have evolved and found that it kills some parasite or some pest, or it provides them some digestive aid, or whatever. So it's really fascinating how things are intertwined. Also, another thing he was curious about, and he asked me because I happen to know this as an archaeologist, but there's two major thorn trees in South America that have thorns that are like this big, and literally, like, if you get hit by it, a thorn that big on this one tree, they go 20 feet up the tree and then they just stop. And there are really, really chunky thorns. Like, people can break them off and make arrowheads with them. They're hardwood and they're a thorn. And they're used by the natives because they also have an irritant, maybe a venom. I don't know what you'd want to call it, but a toxin that also causes you to swell and causes like a rash and you to get itchy and stuff. Well, it turns out that, you know, he's like, why? Like, there's nothing that eats these damn trees, but they just are like the meanest trees ever. When they fall in the water, he said, though, that all the fish hide under them because they're the biggest. They have the biggest trunk of anything in the area in that part of the Orinoco. So they're overwhelmingly what gives shade to areas if it's not rocks. And a lot of areas don't have a bunch of rocks there. And so what he was saying was like, yeah, I don't know though why they have these crazy spikes. And I happen to remember this tree from university, and it was postulated and believed because they found these spikes in the fur, basically. So they found it alongside the body of giant ground sloths, but basically they were there to stop sloths that could easily climb 20 feet up the tree standing on their hind legs. These giant animals that were hunted to death, most likely by early human ancestors that came to the Americas. And now we're realizing that humans probably came to the Americas 20,000, maybe 30,000 years ago, where we used to think it was more like 8 or 9,000 years ago. We keep pushing that date farther and farther and farther back. And it now is pretty clear that they didn't come over land. They came along the coast. And they may have come from Europe and Polynesia and Asia. We now know for sure that they did come from Polynesia and Asia through the land, along the land bridge. So it's interesting. But we know now with the DNA that there are several tribes in the Amazon basin that have DNA from Polynesians from like hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. So did some Polynesians get shipwrecked and they, you know, ended up, you know, they were headed out from maybe Honolulu thinking they were going to go to the Big Island and a storm threw them off? I mean, that seems unlikely with how good they were at navigating. But you can't populate a place. You'll die out unless you have 24 people. That's the magic number for like genetics. And so you can't just have like 3 guys on a log and like 2 chicks on another log and they all happen to float to some island and, oh my gosh, civilization started. So, I mean, you could have Adam and Eve, I guess, if you believe in like magic and stuff. But scientifically speaking, the way we understand it, some people say 24 is a magic number for no inbred problems. It can be done easily or conceivably easily. But we also know that there's places where humans do inbreed for up to 1,000 years. Iran and Zoroastrians are a group that did. And if you believe that that's who settled something, like Australia, for instance, or Papua New Guinea or Taiwan, you know, then it could be as few as 12 to 14 people is the minimum number of people. But you definitely see massive inbred bottlenecks when that occurs. And we don't see that with any of these major places. So there had to be at least 25 people, 24 people, probably more like 50. And that's not an accidental, like, whoops, our boat got lost, you know, our little canoe got lost. Alex, do I have a video explaining infusoria? I sure do. You know, I've got several talking about how to raise live culture food, but if you search paramecium or infusoria as a hashtag with the word at fishery, like in the search bar of YouTube, at fishery infusoria or at fishery live cultured food. I have several videos where we go over it. I'm sorry I'm going on so many tangents tonight, you guys. This is what happens when hey, Dory Bailey, also welcome. Welcome, new member. Come on in. It's great to have you back again. I hope you never leave me. If you do, I'll probably quit YouTube. End of song. Let's see here. Oh, I heard a story about Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger that really made me laugh. Probably, I bet at least one person has heard this story. But I don't know why Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice just ran through my head for a minute there. But basically, he was talking about how Danny DeVito was talking about how he loved the 1980s and like late 70s, early 80s period, and like what a crazy time it was. Well, he said that him and Arnold Schwarzenegger, after they did Twins, they went to a party for the movie shoot that a friend in Hollywood threw for them. And at each table, cut out in a powdery substance, were their last names. And they had like couches with gold fabric and then like their names embroidered into them. And then the table was a mirror at each little like lazy boy that was like all custom. And Danny DeVito's was short and tiny, like for his size. And he said that written out in a beautiful cursive in this powder on a mirror was DeVito. And then he said that Arnold Schwarzenegger literally slugged him, and he was like, "Oh man, like that guy's huge." And he was like, "Oh man, I don't know if I can say this. I'm probably gonna ruin this, but Danny DeVito goes, "Oh my God, Danny, look how long my last name is." And like he said that was his favorite moment of the 80s. I thought that was a funny thing. I don't even know if it's true, but you know, he said it openly about Arnold Schwarzenegger and that substance, which I do not condone. If YouTube's curious, it's not funny. I don't condone it, but I thought that story was funny, and I don't know. I saw Danny DeVito telling that story, so I assume there's some truth to it. Let's see here. Rasboras are more common in aquarium hobby. Yeah. Yeah. So some chems will probably make some effects on plants as well. Yeah. If chemicals are dosed heavily in tanks, even when you're treating fish, there is definitely a chance that some plants will melt. I've had ICX melt the hell out of Crypts and Valsinaria. Now, those plants are known to melt due to each other, for one, and also they're known to melt when exposed to things like glutaraldehyde, which is a relatively light pesticide or herbicide. GRB says yesterday's new fish shipment survived. Right on. Woohoo! Janice Lindberg, hello, welcome. Atron Masson, what's up? Good to see you feeling well. Yeah, I'm feeling good. You know, I try to do it twice a week. If I just do it once, I try not to beat myself up. But you know, guys, my health's been rough lately. But when I'm in a good mood, man, it's so fun to do live streams when I'm feeling better. When I'm just not feeling well, everything in life is hard, and it sucks the fun out of stuff. But yeah, I'm doing good tonight. Let's see. Yeah. Fishery, what's the best source for live foods in the U.S.? Brine shrimp direct. Well, maybe not. I mean, you can get brine shrimp eggs there. You can get like some other live foods, but moreover, you can get like cold pressed krill flakes. You can get fish meal. You can get like little hello. Why?
It's part of the same pack.
Hi guys, my wife's home and she's crazy. She's got 3 bags and lots of toilet paper, even though last night she came home with a Costco-sized bag of toilet paper.
Stock up.
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen again. Better stock up, everybody. You know, 1/3 of our lumber comes from Canada and 2/3 of our toilet paper comes from Canada. No, that's not why we're doing it. We were just out of toilet paper, but I thought I'd put that in people's minds. I mean, eggs. People are literally robbing cafes in Seattle for eggs. Somebody took a stolen van, and like pulled up to a breakfast joint in Seattle and stole like 550 eggs. I was like, is there a worse thing you could steal? It's worth like at best $1 a piece, and it breaks super easy and it is perishable. Why would you steal eggs? Hi, little girlie. She's purring. Can we capture this on the...
Oh, you're gonna scare her. Hello, my name is Sumi.
She stopped. That is all, folks. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Carolina Supplies, I think they're called. They do science supplies, but they have like Daphnia, Artemia, Triops, things like that. Cyclops. They sell a lot of that stuff too. It's very expensive though. It's like $50 for like 100 Daphnia or something crazy. Really enjoying your live streams, Andrew Whitaker. Thank y'all. Well, when I feel good, they're good. When I'm not, they suck. I just adopted 2 foot-long Oscars. I have a phone full of fish pics. Trying to figure it out. I love Oscars. They're so cool, especially the one named after my buddy Ivan Mikolji. That new Oscar, man, it's not that new. It's been in the hobby for a while now, but it's the one that has the kind of like tie-dye or like kind of looks like if you've seen the pattern in like fabrics from Asia, Central Asia or India, batik, where they take the wax and they like, tie it up kind of like tie-dye, but one color, or they just use bleach on something that's dark and it's got like all kind of the tie-dye effect to it. Alex, can you talk a little bit about the different Xiphophorus and what makes them Helleri or the other ones? Beto, I'm actually not really very good with like off the top of my head being able to do that, but in a video soon I could. I know that there are many Xiphophorus, and what he's talking about in common language, you got your live bears, but you got your mollies, platies, your swordtails, and platyfish, guppies, and mollies are all they all interbreed. Swordtails kind of iffy too, but they're very interesting, and we get some traits from some fish, but then we've also hybridized within the molly or within the platyfish. There are then other species. So if it's in the same genus, it's a pretty much no-brainer that they're going to cross in the live bears, but they even cross outside of genuses and create viable offspring. And so we see that as well. You also see kind of funky stuff like swordtail crosses that then have no sword, but they do contribute like a gene of something color-wise, So there's some interesting stuff that goes on there, but it would be fun to talk to a geneticist that understands that more, because they've done a ton of work on it. And I know that, what's his name? Resnick. His name is Resnick, Dr. I think it's Nick Resnick or Nicholas Resnick. And then there's a David Resnick too. But both are guppy evolutionary biologists. And one is a guppy behavioralist, which sounds like a made up PhD, but it's about like evolutionary biology, and then also sociology, behavior, and then like following systems analysis. It's really fascinating. His papers are really interesting to read. But he's the one who wrote the paper that I talked about, where the female guppies would rather go out into the main river than to be pestered by the males some days. So literally the males are so aggressive at wanting to mate that the females will swim out of cover and into where predation is like, I think an average it was like 8 times higher, just to get away from the annoying males. And they're talking about like the survivability of the species is actually impacted by how aggressive the males are. And at a certain point, natural selection like corrects for how aggressive those males are. And some of those males die out. And that's probably why sneaker males evolved, the kind of males that don't dance for the females. They just hang out low key. They look very much like a female guppy, especially wild ones. You know, in captivity, we've got all sorts of colorful things. There's females that are colorful. There's males that are colorful. But usually we select for colorful males in the hobby still. But nowadays we have been selecting for much more colorful females and males, which is hard work, but it's really cool to see, or at least see like I like that you can now in the hobby oftentimes see at least like the tail of the female has a little something to tell you, oh, that's one of the mosaics, or oh, that's a Dumbo ear, snakeskin something or other. Whereas when like all my growing up, we never had enough color in the female tail or anything to know what it was. Like maybe 20 years that started 20 years ago. If I'm wrong there, let me know. If you were in a part of the world where and you guys had guppy females that were colorful like the males, let me know. But it seems like a very new thing, at least from my personal knowledge. I guess I shouldn't speak for the world. Maybe someone was doing it 50 years ago. Fishery. I added bladderwort as a bioactive aid on a whim. Okay. Bladderwort. You know, I would have added a liverwort, but bladderwort, which is it eats microorganisms. It eats also small organisms. But if it can survive in your aquarium, it is a good indicator species that you have microorganisms, that there are things like little seed shrimp or ostracods, that there are something like young Gamaris or small, I don't know if they eat planaria, but if they did, that'd be awesome. Anyways, also I wanted to say Janice Lumberg, thank you so much for becoming a member. Slow clap. That was kind of a fast clap, Alex, actually, but thank you. And yeah, I appreciate it greatly. Yes. And now this. Hey, Alex, question about aquarium light that you recommended that'll last longer than a year, unlike my Higer. What would you recommend that'll last longer than a year? You know, honestly, Higer, I like Higer lights for like cheap aquarium lights on that spectrum, I must say. So I might steer you wrong in that case, I guess. But I would say if you're really trying to do cheap, I would get an LED floodlight from the hardware store that's in the K spectrum you want. So I personally think for flowering plants and growing plants, if you're not just trying to flower, you're not just trying to do vegetative, but if you want to have like an Anubias or a Bucephalandra that is able to be flowered when you give it high light for 15 hours a day, and when you give it normal light or highlight for, say, for instance, 8 to 10 hours a day, it's not going to flower, but it gives you that option. You can work in the 6,000 to 6,500 range. I personally like 6,500 specifically, 6,500 Kelvin, or how white or how blue, warm or cool the light is. But get that, and if you can, look for Cree LEDs. So CREE. You can go on like Amazon and search CREE LED, Cree LED diodes, and then there's like 40 or 100 manufacturers that will have indoor-outdoor floodlights, and the outdoor ones are water resistant, usually, should be. And they're usually, they start at like 12 to 15 bucks, and you can get them in a 2-pack for $25 or $30. And they do great. They light a tank very well, but they don't cast super wide. So you probably will need 2 for like a 20 long, or a 40 breeder. You might need like 3 or maybe even 4, because you might want to do them kind of staggered a little bit, so that some of the front, some of the back gets some light. But that's a very cheap way to do it, and they're very bright. Those floodlights are. And some of them even have like timers and different doodads and settings and stuff now. Have a white cloud with a sunken belly. Is that usually a parasite? Yes, that's usually a parasite. It could be malnourishment, or it could be also inbred issues coming from the breeder, especially if the spine's bent. But it's generally a parasite, unfortunately. It's generally a worm, or like a colmenaris, or a what are they called? Colmenaris, or probably like a similar to a tapeworm. I'm trying to think of the name, but yeah. It could also be something like a protozoa that's just not allowing them to actually absorb nutrients, something like giardia or whatever, where like the equivalent in a human would cause diarrhea and or vomiting and dehydration. It's like they just can't put on weight because they're constantly sick. It runs their immune system down, but then they're also having very runny when they go to the bathroom. It's very runny and not much nutrients has been absorbed out of there. A lot of fish have, I should have said this in my recent video about how much to feed fish, because people don't realize, and I should show it again. I also have a video where we had a PhD professor do a necropsy on a fish. He literally cut apart a fish for us, a tilapia, and showed us all the organs and all the names of nerves and, different color cells and skin layers. And I mean, it was really cool. Nobody watched it. I did a video on the anatomy of your aquarium fish, and just the names of basic, maybe like, I think we did about 60 parts in it. That video got less than 1,000 views. So, maybe nobody but me thinks it's interesting, or the algorithm isn't telling any of y'all. But any case, I think it's just fascinating when you see also like when a fish has passed away, you can then look in the gills and you can see like what little parasites are there, and they look like little beads in their gills a lot of times, or little eyeballs in their gills. And that's usually like they're literally sucking the blood out of the oxygen rich gills and stuff. It's pretty wild. So yeah. Yeah, and worms aren't always bad. Learned that when I had lizards, they actually helped the lizards' digestion as long as they're not overloaded with worms. Right. Most creatures can handle some parasites. It's when they're completely overloaded or they get another illness that they get really run down and they get sick. There's some people like Father Fish who don't think in the wild there's such thing as too many worms or parasites, and that the fish happens to be just that sick and would have died of something else anyways. Me personally, I think that happens in the wild, but I think that, yeah, there's definitely a happy medium of some fish can have some parasites and worms and things, and others, can't have as many. And it's kind of a spectrum, but you're playing with fire if you let them do that in captivity. Because in captivity, just like I was saying, how that I've had so many tanks that must have ick at some capacity. Maybe they have worms or colmenaris worms in some of, like I've had guppy tanks where I didn't realize that, but I hadn't added any new guppies. And it could be that they got it from another tank or a net or something. But my guess is that they probably had it and they just were being fed enough food that it didn't really ever, the worms never really overpowered the fish or made them look bloated enough that I thought, oh, that's an issue. Until it did after 2 or 3 years, and the fish were stressed maybe from some water change or something else. And, then it's not a problem until it is. One of the dumbest sayings ever, but it's true. Resident Alien, what's going on? Good to see you. Nancy B, always love seeing you. Fish and football, had to reload, was at 6 when I started. Now he's doing geology. I don't want to feed to freeze. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My feed is prone to freezing too. And you know what? I'm going to scroll down because I don't want anybody who's still here. Dory Bailey, thank you so much for the $2 chat. Oscar sexing. So it's all about behavior with Oscars. Yes, the colors will tend to be more intense in the males, but and the males will tend to be a little larger. But the ultimate thing is going to be looking up the behavior. Also, if I recall, I have this wrong, so don't maybe Google this too. But I think the ventral fin, there are paired fins on the belly of the male tend to be larger, and their anal fin tends to be larger as well. But I don't know that that's always helpful because a lot of times in captivity, the Oscars are such a commonly bred cichlid, and they've been in the hobby for 130 years. So they've been bred for a long time, and people have selected them for long fins or certain colors or certain patterns, and a lot of them don't look like they would have in the wild, or those genetics have been crossed back with wild genetics, and so you get kind of inconsistent traits. So stuff that in the wild you'd say, oh, that's a female or a male, for sure. Once you have this other admixture of the genetics, you're like, I don't know anymore. And that's one of those things, unfortunately, where they're not super different enough that it can overpower the impact of that effect. Let's see here. Boop, 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 boop. But I'm going to go down to, I'm way behind in the chat, apparently. I'm going down to where all y'all are live so that Bob B. Where's Bob B? Bob Bravo, what up? Okay. Also, I'm going to start chatting here. I'm going to give it a little bit longer, guys, just because I want to make sure we get all the people dying to ask questions that asked me earlier, and I may have just skipped over it just now. Let's hope you ask it again and you're still here and I didn't neglect you totally. Supposed to be -0 tonight. Is that in Fahrenheit or Celsius? Because I'm not impressed in Celsius. -0. I mean, isn't it 0 is just 0, right? It's absolute, but not absolute 0. That would mean no atoms or molecules are moving and the universe has ceased to exist or be moving. Where did you find that money? Asked. Oh, you guys Norwegian. Oh, you guys are telling jokes. You got jokes. Will Prazi Pro kill planaria? Sometimes. What sucks is that planaria are hard to kill. The thing is, they are a flatworm and they will respond to medications that kill worms by basically there's these pumps, and we think of it as hydration or dehydration, but on a molecular level there's gateways and these things called tubes that transport oxygen and or liquids around the body of certain insects and certain small organisms. Well, those medications, all those dewormers and stuff, what they basically do is they cause a proton, or not proton, a pump in the cell. So its job is to let water in or out, meiosis, or to let water or to let salt in or out, and to say, yeah, we need more, we need less, this kind of thing. What it does is it tricks that, and then what that leads to is like erratic heartbeat, or if they have, a heart and that's that big of a creature, or leads to dehydration and like shriveling up, or the opposite where they swell and it literally bursts because there's so much water in each cell, and it leads to the cell death of systems in the worm or parasite. But yeah, they're a tough one, and the product No Planaria is a pretty darn good killer of them. You got to be patient. You want to dose it. You want to dose it at night because it's UV reactive. UV light will cause it to break down a little bit, and even or not just, I shouldn't say just UV light, but like light, photoreactive. And so it's best to do it like at night before you're going to turn the lights off. You use the dose that's recommended or less. But it's a product simply called No Planaria, and it is betel nut extract. And betel nut is actually a substance that is chewed all throughout Southeast Asia and the Pacific islands. Also, you know, down in Australia, New Zealand, and, you know, Thailand and Taiwan and India. There's other places where it exists as well. But it's this, basically you take lime or something caustic, and then you take the nut, and a lot of people either chew on it and then they put leaves in their mouth. But basically one thing scrapes up your gums, another one equalizes it and turns it into a free base. But anyway, long story short, it's like chewing tobacco. It's like a stimulant and or a relaxant. It's actually a deliriant, I believe, if I recall correct. Long story short, humans use it, but just like tobacco and nicotine, it's actually a well-known pesticide or insecticide when in proper doses. But humans love it, you know. 20-gallon tank planted side and a female angel side. You know, another thing that Ivan told me that I thought was fascinating is that he walks along Amazon, or, well, technically Orinoco rivers, but the rivers in the region, guys. So it happens in the Amazon too, but like the rivers along southern Venezuelan, where there's more tributaries that are smaller, and you'll be walking along some river that feeds into the main river. And he said there's these vines that will literally, there's a whole group of them, like species wise, that will go from growing up a stump, and you'll see that they grow around it, and then they kind of like try going out into, you know, reaching out on the land or on the bank of the river. And you can sometimes see where they've tried like 4 or 5 places. Then they finally will go back underwater. They'll go all the way across a river, sometimes 50 or 60 yards. So 50 or 60 meters. And then they'll find a tree that they like more, and they'll wrap the whole tree and like suffocate it. But they can like smell or sense or whatever the shade and the chemicals or something. And then they can literally go underwater. It's worth that whole expenditure of energy to get in a better place. And that, I just thought that was really fascinating to hear about that. LDH Aquatics, hello. Watching 2 streams, so I'm in and out, but everyone hit the like button, please. Oh, thanks. Yeah, hit that like button. Stop. Now hit like. No, you don't need to always kill planaria. That's a great question, Pablo. You don't need to always kill planaria. You can have some planaria, that's fine. They are detrivores first and foremost. They're going to eat dead stuff. Now, the problem with them is that they then, if they get overpopulated because you had extra fish food or dead plant matter, all of a sudden you have a bunch of them, and then you have, say, baby shrimp or baby fish also being born in the tank. Suddenly they're going to turn and they're going to be like, let's eat all the shrimp. And they're willing to eat each other. They're willing to eat new plants. They're willing to eat shrimp. They're willing to eat fish. They're willing to eat fry. They're nasty, gnarly little things. And their stomach is in the center of their body. So it's not up in their head where they have the two eyes and the triangle shaped head. These little worms, they have a belly that you can see. It just looks like a little dark spot right in the center of the length of their body, so that when they wrap around things, they literally put out like stomach acid and digestive juice and something that stings and stuns animals. And then they literally like digest part of that animal. So like if it's a baby shrimp, they'll get under the shell, they'll chunk a piece of flesh out of that poor little shrimp, and they'll digest it while they're under there for like 20 minutes or whatever, and then they'll crawl out, and you'll see their stomach, and around their stomach, or that mouthpiece, the cloaca of the thing, you'll see that it's also their butt and their stomach, and their mouth. But anyways, it's you'll see that if it's a blue shrimp, they start turning blue in the center of the planaria. If they're yellow, red, red. Whereas they're kind of a flesh tone to a whitey color, a white or beige color otherwise. But they are really gnarly, something out of a horror movie, basically, when you get a lot of them. Plus, they also form nests when you have a lot of planaria. Like if they're just eating a ton of extra, like if you put in like a pinch of food more than the fish need every day in the corner, and it's getting all moldy and gross and, you know, rotting and just looks like, you know, sludge in there, the planaria will come and they will eat that, which is, I guess, good. But then they form like a little cave under the stuff they're eating a lot of times. And if it's in like gravel or in aqua soil, a lot of times you can poke at the mound and it's literally like it stops becoming just one or two planarias and it becomes a whole ball of them that are all working kind of together and making their stomach acids and stuff absorb everything that they touch, and then they all kind of feed off of it. It's really gross. So that's why you just don't want too many of them. Kids, that's how we used to. Oh, yeah. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. How's the leg doing, Dennis? Thank you for asking. The leg's doing okay. It's starting to wear me down again right now. Like literally, as you asked, I just got a wave of like, oh, I need to take my antibiotics and I need to take my what do they call it? Anti-inflammatories and stuff. I haven't done that yet, but I also have to eat with that because the antibiotics are really shredding my stomach lately since I've been on them for months. But I'm doing okay. Emotionally, doing okay. Inexperience with the Nanoptomus species Peru. Just got 4. Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure we have the right. Are you spelling that? Are you spelling that correctly? Nanopterus, where did that go? Rat King of Planaria, totally catfish, Banjo. You got it. Any experience with nano Tomos? Let me look real quick. I think I'm thinking of something different. Are you talking about a pencilfish? But am I thinking of something different? It might be spelled different. Nano Thomas. Are you just talking about like I mean, I don't know there's nanostomas, but nanopterus sounds right as well. I'm trying to remember what that is. But I don't know. Can you respond on there and maybe help me out a little bit? I'm sorry, buddy. Nanotomos. Yeah, I can't find anything other than references to pencilfish on there. But I seem to remember that being a fish, and I don't know why I can't think of it. Anyways, I have lots of experience with pencilfish, and I've done species spotlights that cover them pretty well. If you want to check out any of the ones I've done the last couple of years. Rough, Andrew. Sorry, you had to remove your fishies. Just got the mushy peas for the fish for the oh, nice. Well, good luck. Good luck. No planaria for me. Yeah. Stay strong, Alex. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. There's an X-Files season 1 episode with big planaria that parasitize people and what? Grow into fluke man? No, don't tell me that. That's awful. I guess I have to go see that now. Okay, I will. Sorry, guys, I just got asthma a little bit. Orange auto. Oh, yeah. Okay. The auto synkless. Yeah. The nano up. Yeah, okay. Yes. I do have a little bit of experience. They seem to eat biofilm more so than the actual algae. I think having a mature tank is very important. I saw that they tend to they'll eat the tropical fish formulation of bug bites alongside the Hikari formulation of spirulina algae wafers. And I've crushed the two of those up into kind of a powder and then just kind of like intermixed it together in a mortar and pestle and then sprinkled that. And a lot of those little fish that can like dust a surface, and if there's just this little bit of protein film or just a little bit of algae, that dust will cling to it, and then the fish can like come by and like hoover it up. So there's that. All right, let's see here. 10-gallon tank with 4 platies, 6 tetra, lots of neocaridina, shrimp, some snails. Can I add 6 corridas? It depends on what the tetras are. Now, I'm also concerned with if you've got platies like hard water, generally speaking. Now, they can live in fairly neutral water, but I would need to know if your tank has a lot of plants. And does it have like a KH or GH that I'm assuming it has, if it has lots of shrimp and some snails, probably has enough hardness for the platies to do okay. But I don't know if is it like 7.5 pH or is it like 6.8? Some platies can kind of go pretty far into the acidic water if they've been bred for that, or if they were born in acidic water and then their parents were born a little more acidic, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Have I done paludariums? I have a long time ago, and then I also did when I worked at Aquarium Zen, I worked on a couple with him, the owner. But I would like to do more again, and I would like a poison arrow frog, micro poison arrow frog setup. Yeah. Let's see here. Bump, 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 bump. Come on, now touch me, baby. Can't you tell that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? Why won't you tell me what you said? What was that promise that you made? Now I'm gonna love you till the heavens fade away. I'm gonna love you till the stars fall from the sky for you and I. Is it reasonable to breed a pair of rams in a 10-gallon? Yeah, you could do that. Plant it well. Give them an option for a cave on either side of a 10-gallon just in case. Let them excavate the cave. Like if you have a little ceramic cave or tunnel or tube or whatever, use sand on that part of the tank and fill it up, fill that hole all the way up, but they can peek into it, and they'll then, for some reason, they like excavating it from what I've seen. Ryan, thank you so much, my friend. Gifted 5 Fishery memberships. Thank you, Ryan Massey. You are truly a king among men, among king rats, rat kings, if you will. Thank you, buddy. That's very kind. Now you've given forth to the people who are here. But now, can I get an amen? Could I get a thumbs up? Actually, don't need an amen. Just give me the thumbs up. We'll call it good. Now do Slipknot. I don't remember any of the words to that song. But I do remember that what the hell is the name of that song? It's bad. It's like all swear words. I'll just say chuck me up and dun 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 and dun 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 and dun dun dun. Anyways, yeah, I don't listen to them a whole lot, but I listened to a lot of Korn when I was young. That band was who I was all about, was Korn. But welcome, new fish members. Thank you for joining us and pleasing the algorithmic gods. Fishery, is there a way to feed seed shrimp? To expand the population in their own tank setup? Honestly, not having fish. Like shrimp tanks are usually full of seed shrimp. Those little white dots that barely look like an organism that's alive, and they just kind of like move like jerky. They kind of like almost look like a glitch. They move like they'll be still and they'll go toop, and they'll move like half an inch to, I don't know, a few millimeters to a centimeter. And they just kind of like go boop, 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 and they'll move around like right on the substrate when you turn the lights on and stuff. Fish love eating those. Seemingly, they just are born quite a bit in aquarium in general. They have dormant eggs and cysts that can dry out and get on land very easily. They can even be blown in the wind and like stick to like you. Same with like tardigrades and hydra and planaria. A lot of these things are like all around us in the soil and the leaves, stuff like that. And there's like a version that lives in every continent and every tropical all the way to like Arctic. And a lot of those little tiny organisms find their way into your aquarium, and you don't need to do anything to encourage them. The amount that you would feed is so minuscule that you're going to screw things up for your tank more by feeding than you would by just ignoring them, honestly. But you could take your fish out for a little while, and then them not eating anything would allow them to grow in population. Or when you cycle your tank, leave it for a month and a half or whatever. That can help for sure. Let's see here. We got more gifted memberships. Johnny coming in again. Johnny, angry Johnny. This is Jezebel in hell. Okay, that was the song. And then there's Angry Jack is the other, or is it Happy Jack? There is a Happy Jack. There is a I'm getting so many things confused right now. He scares easily, and nothing quite as scary as an infant shooting his gun off in the skies, in the air. I don't know. I'm going to shut up now. Loretta Jackson, what's up? Green water feeds seed shrimp. That is correct. Yeah, it will help them. And actually, fish can't see in green water. So green water is a good solution to all of that. That's a great point. Thank you, Loretta Jackson. Yeah, that was a good point. Yeah, because also my most successful friends at breeding a lot of fish secretly, they just do green water and the fish can't see their young, so they don't eat them. And then they try it when they can see big enough juvenile fish. They scoop them out from the top with whatever, put them in another tank, and then they feed them brine shrimp or whatever to grow out the babies. But the adults are just always spawning, but they're in such green water that they can't even see like an inch in front of their face, and the babies survive and all this prey food survives. But things like catfish or anabantids or, you know, different labyrinth fish all have like very sensitive lateral lines and sensory organs. So even if they can't see with their eyes, they can sense like the vibration of these little organisms, and they can, boom, snap them up and eat them. Anyways, let's see here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Johnny. And then Spinster Sister, thank you so much. Info on glass head standards, getting 12 plus next week from Dan's Fish. Right on. That's super cool. Let me look really quick at which ones Dan's has. There's actually a whole lot of glass fish. The head standards, glass headstand. Okay. So I think you're thinking of the hump head, you know, the Parambassus probably genus is what I'm assuming you're talking about. Cause there's the Ronga, and then there's the Pulcinella, and then there's also, the Lala. I like the one that's named Lala because that's my wife's nickname since she was a kid. But there's one, the Lala is indigenous to, or yeah, endemic, I should say, only exists. It is the Ronga, but it's evolved in Lake Inlet for at least 700,000 years separate from the other population. So it looks a little different, but it has orange and red stripes. Really cool fish, extremely uncommon in the hobby, but I would love some. But yeah, the headstand or the hump head glass fish, super easy to take care of, pretty versatile. Treat them about like a tiger barb. They can be a tiny bit nippy sometimes. They're better in they hang out in a little more open water in like the middle of the river. They do like having a shadow or a log to hang out under, and they'll actually come out into the open more if they have a shelter or like a rock overhang. If you have like a slate rock like this. Because they'll tread water in there and hang out in there for a little bit, and maybe at night, and then they'll come up and they'll do laps around. And they are a schooling fish. If you have a big enough tank, they'll definitely school in like a 90 or 55 even maybe. In smaller tanks than that, it's kind of hit or miss, and they're more of a shoaling fish, but they will school. If you have 12, that's probably enough to get them to start doing some of that behavior. But yeah, they're really interesting, beautiful fish that I like. Let's see here. Blah, 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 da, da, da. Blah, blah, blah. It's the sound of the gat. Yeah, that's why I love growing out. Yeah, exactly, Nancy. I will love growing fry out in shrimp tanks, is they help keep the microfauna in check and they don't have to feed multiple times a day. Yeah, totally. Because that's what I was going to say about the thing about all the fish necropsies, and the video I just made, and why I forgot to include it, but I wish I had, is that people do not realize some fish have such short digestive systems. Like plecos have a big spiral one, and that's huge for fish. Like we have one that goes all over the place. It's like whatever, 28 meters long or something ridiculous. Maybe it's 28 feet. I don't know. Whatever it is. But fish, a lot of them literally just have, like, for instance, glass catfish. They just have this much room right behind their head to the cloaca. And the rest of that you see, a lot of people think it's their stomach, that it's their spine and their lateral line. But like, they literally can hold, it's a straight line, and they can hold about, like, I don't know, a pencil lead worth, like, broken down into maybe 4 millimeters to 6 millimeters in length. And they have to eat that over and over and over and over and get good nutrients out of it. And a lot of times fish are resorting to eating things with not the highest nutrient packed in. So some fish really do need to, like, eat all day. And even if it's like protein films and algae and things like that, we do not realize how much of the diet of our fish is actually made up of that. And when talking to people who go out and watch these fish in the wild, like Ivan had mentioned to me, so many of them eat seeds. Like some tetra that you would never expect happens to eat the seed that falls from this one tree. And there's like tens of thousands of these tetras that gather underneath these trees. And you can see the water looks like it's boiling only a certain, like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the year. But they just love this one seed. And then, like, within 15 minutes, they're going to pass the seed out, and then it's gone. But also you see that with, various algae, biofilms, fungus. There's also insects and micro fauna and microflora that they just eat only this or that. And when we cut their bellies open, a lot of times they'll have only like millimeters to centimeter long digestive tracts, and yet they're straight shots. And so they need to be eating like at least 10 times a day. And the way we feed fish oftentimes is like we feed them, and luckily, like guppies and a lot of live bears have somewhat of a zigzag to their stomach. By the way, every guppy's digestive system is a little different, and it's like a fingerprint kind of, if you look at the ridges under a microscope, but in their intestinal area. But a lot of them also don't even have like a chambered stomach. Some just have basically like they have esophagus that goes straight to the colon, and there's like some acid and some proteins that help, or enzymes that break things down the entire stretch of that, which is pretty wild. Mick says, forgive me, I missed somebody's comment. I had to drop out of the stream question. And please ask your questions again if Alex didn't see it the first time. Yeah, definitely. Guys, I'm going to get out of here soon. But, yeah. Oh, interesting. There's a lot of Baroque classical music about water and fish. Did not know that. But you learn something new every day. And if you didn't, you're a dum-dum, because there's so many things to learn, like what not to do. But most people don't consider that learning. They consider that like the lack of learning. Let's see here. Do you share music on your YouTube channel? What? What just happened? Hold on, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I share playlists sometimes, guys. You know what? I will share a Spotify playlist. I'll start sharing those on Discord for sure. Mick, are we friends on even Facebook or anything? If you have Facebook, I don't know if you do, friend me. I'm easy to find. Or hit me up on my email, alexanderjwilliamson@gmail.com. J as in jet. No other dots, no capitals, nothing like that. alexanderjwilliamson@gmail. Just say, hey, it's Mick. And I can send you, if you'd like, an assorted playlist of some sort. But yeah, I will post some memberships again, or some musical stream or musical playlists again. I have one that's like meditation, sitting and looking at your fish tanks. Like, here's some stuff that I find very relaxing, ambient, like binaural beat type music, stuff like that. Oh, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Well, never mind. Okay, never mind. You do your thing. Let's see here. Yeah, name some of the water fish pieces. Yeah, I'd like to know that too. Ooh, I'm only here. I have your email, Alex. Okay, well, you don't need to message me anyways. I see you're talking about the Baroque. I know there's a lot of fountains and things from that period with like carp and goldfish. But anyways, you guys, yeah, I'll make you an epistogramma playlist, Mick. I also did have a playlist going about like songs about fish or aquatic themes. All right, guys, I do have to get out of here though. I will be trying my best again to stream on Friday. I'll be trying my best to drop a video either tomorrow or the next day, and again on probably Saturday or maybe Friday. So I'm trying to do 3 videos, 1 deep dive, 1 live stream where we just chit chat, question and answer, another live stream where we either explore something or look at other websites or react to things or look at my fish tanks. And then also content wise, we're trying to do maybe a species profile a week going forward. I'm hoping maybe a deeper, more connected thing, and then like 1 more like current issue or economics or history, or like how the hobby or how freshwater ecology ties in to the world at large and humanity at large. So I think hopefully that's disco at the Episto. How about panic at the Episto? A lot of tank owners love music as well. Facts. Yeah, right. Do you have any suggestions for shrimp safe fish for a 5-gallon? Doom pie, do I ever? Man, just about all my fish that are safe for shrimp are going to be able to go in a 5-gallon just by default because they tend to be smaller. Other than maybe autocinkless and panda loaches probably need more than a 5-gallon just because they need room to graze. But I mean, there's also like Stiphodon loaches, the auto, you're going to laugh at its name, but it's really called the RoboCop auto sinkless. And then also, there's lots of great like fish that they will eat the newborn shrimp if they see them. But if you have a planted tank, you've got hides, you've got like Saswassertong or, any sort of carpeting plants or a pile of rocks even, or just like little caves and things, whatever it may be, if wood, cholla wood, hollowed out wood, any of those things will work great to protect them. And then you can put a whole lot more fish in, like things like threadfin rainbows. Pretty well went with that in a 5, but even small endler males, like a male only endler setup works fine. But most of the nano fish to even like common community fish won't bug an adult Neocaridina. Usually they won't eat them. It's like cichlids and bigger catfish that tend to chomp on them like relentlessly. And also, Morwina, thank you so much, my friend, for giving the gift that keeps on giving to me. No, the gift that gives, it gives to YouTube, and it gives to some lucky viewer. So that's great. Do I ship? I do. If that's for me, I do not, other than when I sell plants once in the blue moon. And once in the blue moon, I'll sell some art from my personal collection or illustrations or something. And also, I'll also do sometimes like shrimp or maybe on a rare occasion, some live bear or something. But I only do it when the weather is correct. And usually it's members only thing. But yeah, I don't tend to ship. I tend to work with other companies that I think do a better job that are at scale. Things like Dan's Fish, I have a code for. It's Alex. Just type the word Alex, you'll get 10% off the first time you use them. Aquatic Arts, type in the word Fishery 15, Fishery 15, all caps, and you will get 15% off your entire purchase, and they've got some cool stuff right now. And then also Moonlight Aquatics, incredibly affordable shop with incredibly cool rare fish. And Moonlight Aquatics, Fishery, the name of my channel, 10 Fishery 10, you get 10% off, and you can use that also multiple times. Those are all great ways to support the things I would be selling, or actually in the case of Moonlight, I will be selling fish that I spawn to him. So there are potentials in the future for me to be breeding something and y'all to buy it, because I'll let you know. I'll let probably users and channel members, let them know first so they can get dibs. People have been here for longest as well. And then, yeah. Am I still selling my plants? I am. I just got kind of sidetracked. I'm going to have to retrim them, but there's a whole bunch and they need trimming like mid this week again. Problem is, it's been so cold. It's like 21 degrees last night. I think it got down to. So I just don't trust anything. Even if I put a heat pack in, I feel like I'd cook the plants more often than I'd keep them at the right temperature. So I'm not going to do that until the snow threat is over, both on my end, your end, and the anywhere it might sit on a tarmac of an airport for a good solid night, with things being so busy traveling and moving around this time of year and all that jazz. So sorry about that a little bit for getting everybody stoked that wanted those, and then kind of it not working out when we got hit by a giant snowstorm, and then my furnace broke, and then it's just been one thing after another. I went to music school, had a great cello playing girl in my class who went to playing global arenas. She had perfect pitch. Wow, that's cool. What about us who pay for Discord? Yeah, you guys are totally what I'm counting as like members or whatever. I'll definitely let y'all know if I'm selling anything before they ship out, before I take orders, for sure. Yeah, you guys will be let in on it in a general post, and it'll also be here if you're also the $1.99 community member here. If you're double dipping, you'll see it twice then. That's all. And Patreon for that matter. Okay, Ryan says, Alex, help us out. I have a tank to fill since my you're a Nubius. Man, sucks. Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Let's see here. The Aquarium from Carnival of the Animals is another great one. I don't know that one. I'll have to check that out. I'm drunk. And I'm so messed up in you. I'll wrap myself in heaven and the moon and the clouds and the stars. All the devils trying to in the back of his car. Nothing quite like the feel of something new. Maybe I'm all mixed up. Maybe I'm all mixed up. Maybe I'm all mixed up in you. Boy, that album is 35 years old now. Jeez. Okay, guys. Alex, thanks to all the support who support Alex on Discord, CC, Aquascapes, me. I'm only on YouTube. Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. I appreciate it. All y'all appreciate it. Mary, my leg's doing well. It's doing, I don't know. I hope it's doing well. It's still going. It's still there. Still there. Alex, what's your top 3 or 5 plants? Cabamba fricata. I like Cabamba, Cabamba fricata, Bacopa salzmani crossed with Colorada. My Ludwigia inclinata crossed with Ludwigia red star or Ludwigia rubens. Hydrocotyle verticillata probably, and maybe Potamogeton gayi, rainbow. Maybe those are my like favorites when of what's in my tank that I'll have for sale soon. My all-time favorites are like Logonandrome boldi and some of the boosts of philandras and things, but and also like some of the bigger, very slow-growing plants that I just aren't worth selling. But yeah. All right, you guys. I hope you all have wonderful night, a wonderful night. And I think the next video coming out is going to be a 1962, 4, or 6, depending on which one I pick, edition of Tropical Fish Keeper magazine. Wait, is that the right acronym? Tropical Fish Keeper, Tropic. Yeah, that's right. TFK, right? Tropical Fish Keeper, yeah. Anyways, and I think we'll flip through that for like a 15-minute video or so, showing you the best highlights. I think that's what I will do for the next video. We'll see. All right, you guys. Here's where I make the big bucks. If you like ASMR. That's just too bad because I'm going to keep on singing. La, 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 la. All right, guys. I'm going to go. This time for real. Much love. I'm out. This is what you get. This is what you get when you mess with us.